Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. I want to welcome you to this session with Generations for Peace. My name is Sophia Ibn Garba. I'm a Desmond Tutu Reconciliation Fellow, as well as the Director of Institutional Learning at Generations for Peace. I would like my colleagues to say a word and introduce themselves.
Thank you, Sophia, and hello, everyone. It's our pleasure to be here today, and thank you for your interest to attend the session. My name is Maysam Hadidi. I work with Generations for Peace as the Senior Programs Officer.
Thank you, Maysam.
Hi, everyone. This is Shahd Almahameed, and I'm a Programs Officer at Generations for Peace. Happy to be here with you all.
Thank you very much, ladies. We're going to go straight into it because we know you're really excited to hear what we have to say today. I'm going to start off with an overview of what Generations for Peace is, who we are. So we are a Jordan-based global nonprofit peace-building organization. We were founded by His Royal Highness Prince Faisal Al Hussein of Jordan in 2007. So we've been here quite a bit. We're a teenager as an organization. We are dedicated to sustainable conflict transformation at the grassroots. And Generations for Peace, what we do is we empower volunteer leaders of youth and youth to promote active tolerance and responsible citizenship. And we do so in communities that are experiencing different forms of conflict and violence. We believe conflict is natural and necessary, but it is about what we do with that conflict. We work through carefully facilitated sport-based games, art, advocacy, dialogue, empowerment, and media activities to provide an entry point to engage different kinds of target groups that include children, youth, adults, and also particularly as vehicles for integrated education and sustained behavioral change. Our vision is to have a sustainable peace in actively tolerant communities through responsible citizenship. Our mission is to empower youth and cascade sustainable change in communities that are experiencing conflict through world-class free education in conflict transformation using, as I said before, our sport, arts, advocacy, dialogue, empowerment, and media for peace, which we call our peace-building vehicles. Our values include youth leadership, community empowerment, active tolerance, and responsible citizenship. We have trained volunteers in the thousands, over 10,000 volunteers across 52 countries around the world. We're very proud to say that. And we have engaged about 1 million children, youth, and adults across different programming. And it's always about the local context and what is happening, okay? So today we're going to be talking about a program, an Empowerment for Peace program that's called Code for Jordan. And it was supported by Porticus Foundations, and they were partners through the donors throughout the programming. And what we wanted to achieve through that was to address this concept of the violence of exclusion, where youth are seen as more of part of the problem rather than agents of change and people with valuable agency and capacity to address violence. Looking at, some of the figures in Jordan, we have pretty high unemployment rates that include up to 52% for youth. And there are other issues, okay? There are other issues that intersect. These include gender barriers, the huge gap between the youth and the government, which is, quite common across, especially global South countries. And we see it as ultimately a high risk for instability. And that is why we developed this program. And my colleagues with me they led on the programming. So we're going to be hearing a bit more from them about it. So I'm going to first ask Maysam to tell us, because we know that one key aim of the program was to strengthen pathways to employment for young people, so both female and male, Jordanian and Syrian refugees. As we know, we have a refugee crisis across several countries in the Middle East, and we wanted to strengthen those pathways for employment with coding qualifications. by giving them real life project experience, working on real priorities in the municipalities, developing their technical skills, like, project management, also developing their soft skills, including teamwork, collaboration, communication, problem solving. So, with all of this, can you share with us how this worked out? Especially with also the inclusion of our private sector partners. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Sophia. So I will start by providing a small introduction about Code for Jordan program. So it's an initiative, a program powered by Generations for Peace to support youth in the IT sector, to ease lives in the communities they are coming from in several ways, enabling in turn local businesses and connecting everyday people with their problems to those in responsibility to help solve what obstacles they are facing. So the pilot program kicked off in 2020, the same year that COVID-19 hit our planet. The program was forced to adjust and respond to the pandemic while still maintaining its original goals and objectives. So the project, Code for Jordan, aimed at young programmers to capitalize on the potential of technology to better include youth in civic life and to close the gap between youth and the government and public institutions. Code for Jordan, as you mentioned, was implemented as a response to the violence of exclusion. In this project, throughout 2020, we have facilitated bringing closer young youth that have an ICT background to their communities via linking them with municipalities and local entities. Our primary focus during the program was on nurturing both their hard and soft skills to create and help them and enhance their employability skills. These young people were able to create and run applications that is access to public services following the needs of their communities and priorities. An example of the applications and the technical solutions that youth have created as part of the program was enabling citizens to report any problem they face regarding infrastructure to those responsible for fixing them in municipalities. Most impressive were the technical efforts of young Jordanian programmers who were integrated into the workforce in a way that actually made them feel that they actually belong to their community by addressing these priorities and needs. As you mentioned, Sophia, it was really an important and key highlights of this program. As we at Generations for Peace, as a non-profit organization, we believe strongly in the importance of finding ways to connect together with the private sector. It's really important to find this way in order to together can combine complementary strengths to ensure more comprehensive and sustainable solution. So Code for Jordan was supported by Progress Soft cooperation in line with its strategic pillars of social responsibility. GFP, along with Progress Soft, delivered more than 22 capacity building sessions, 18 technical sessions, and 4 soft skills. The program focused on several civic engagement skills, to name a few: active listening and empathy, teamwork and leadership, creative thinking, problem solving, planning, and decision making. It's also important to mention that the program also provided youth with the space to identify some of the issues and needs in their communities, and also fostered cooperation and effective communication between youth participants. at the end of the pilot program, GFP administrated an inline survey in order for us to measure the key changes of the program and its impact on the targeted group, members, and the beneficiary community as a result of participating in the program activities. So one of the key changes recorded among the targeted group members were in their confidence in their own employability skills, as well as to be employed in today's job market. Also, there was a huge improvement in their willingness to participate in civic activities, and also their trust in public institution and the Jordanian government. It's also important to mention that after the implementation of the program, the youth themselves really gained from Code for Jordan great skills and motivation in order for them to combine their passion and help their local community. Youth already developed ideas and worked on different applications even after the completion of the program. One example, a young female from Mafraq and a participant in Code for Jordan program got involved in helping her community right after the program amidst COVID-19. So she worked on an application to bring together those who may be struggling in her community and find a sense of hope amidst the uncertainty of the pandemic and COVID-19. Her aim was to inspire others to think creatively and help support their community in whatever means they can do.
Thank you, Maysam. Yeah, that's thank you for that really extensive expose, I would say, on the program. And you mentioned some really key important points, and one of those that I really liked is how you're intersecting the passion of these youth with things they want to do in their community using the skills they already have. So, and great example about the lady in Mafraq. So I'm going to move over to Shahid. And Shahid, the second aim of the program was to be able to close the gap between young people and government, and doing so by providing a structure in which they can work together in collaboration so that they can really analyze public service delivery challenges, understanding what the issues are in the community, identifying local priorities, which might be amendable by coding solutions, the use of technology. So can you share with us how that engagement with young people and municipality government officials worked out? And was that spirit of collaboration, was it actually achieved? Over to you.
Okay, Sophia. So the spirit of collaboration between the municipalities and volunteers was achieved during many phases of the program. However, one of the most significant ones is the community needs assessment. As part of the program, a community needs assessment was undertaken by the target group members, supported by the young volunteers in Code for Jordan program communities, 3 communities, Balqa, Sahab, and Mafraq. The goal of the community needs assessment was to come out with the most pressing needs of the communities in order to design technical solutions that would respond to these needs. And during this process, the volunteers conducted meetings with the municipality officials to draft some of the questions of the community needs assessment surveys, and municipalities have also supported in the distribution of these surveys among community members. Also, one of the most significant collaborations was the municipalities providing local data and research for each governorate. This supported the volunteers in drafting the community needs assessment reports and better analyze the needs and priorities of their communities. And after the initial results of the community needs assessment, volunteers conducted community members sessions in coordination with the municipalities. Of course, these community member sessions invited community leaders, students, members of the broader beneficiary community. And the goal of these sessions was to present the initial results, to provide the input and to further validate the results of the community needs and the community members themselves. So after this process, and after taking all the input needed from the community members, the most like brainstorming sessions took place with our partner Progresssoft in order to come up with the most feasible technical solutions to the priorities of the community. It's worth noting at this point that across all three communities, the youth sector was selected among the most important three sectors to work on. Also, the services and infrastructure sector was also selected among the three, leaving only one sector to be unique among them. I'll be mentioning a bit about each application and its sector and how the municipalities contributed to the development of the application. So in one of the communities, Sahab, they addressed the infrastructure sector, where they developed an application and linked it with the municipality directly to address infrastructure challenges in the community. While in Balqa, they addressed the tourism sector, where they developed an application that includes all touristic places with the descriptions on each. The municipality provided them with all the reliable and up-to-date information and descriptions on each touristic area. And as for the last application in Mafraq, they addressed the education sector as a response to COVID-19, where they developed a platform to link teachers with the students, and the municipality provided them with the visibility needed to share the application with the community members in their own community. So to conclude, yes, the spirit of collaboration was achieved, and these efforts between the municipality officials and volunteers further built the trust between them and provided the support needed for the successful implementation of the program and the success of technical solutions themselves.
Thank you, Shahd. That was really interesting to note the participatory manner in which it was approached, like, as you mentioned, community needs assessments and doing that with all of the different stakeholders. And I find it so interesting that in the different municipalities, you know, they were addressing different things. So that really, I think, shows the depth of how much people, especially youth, were able to express themselves and as well, you know, work with the municipality. I mean, this is not something that's usual, honestly, with working with youth and government officials. So it's really good to see that that was happening. We're going to do something now and give you a break from hearing our voices or listening to our voices. And we're going to look at a video that speaks about this program and shows us about and talks about like the impact and the process and so on. Shahd, are you ready to go? All right, so we will be looking at a video, we'll be watching a video about the Code for Jordan program. Happy viewing. I think we need voice. Let's see. Do we have voice? Can you hear? You're gonna maybe have to take off this so we can hear it.
Okay. I will unmute and then, okay.
أنا أسيل حجاج من محافظة البلقاء، سنة رابعة تخصص المحاسبة. بلشت رحلتي التطوعية من أيام المدرسة، شاركت بالعديد من النشاطات التطوعية، وهذا بنبع من حب داخلي في مساعدة الآخرين وتقديم يد العون لهم. عملت مع الكثير من المنظمات المحلية والعالمية، والآن أنا ناشطة في قضايا الشباب، وأشارك حالياً في برنامج برمج للأردن الذي يعمل على حل مشاكل مجتمعية من خلال تطبيق، وإحنا بنشتغل بالسلط من خلال تطبيقنا على تفعيل دور السياحة الداخلية والخارجية وإلقاء الضوء على الثروة السياحية التي تتمتع بها السلط من بناء أصفر وتراث تاريخي. ويحتوي التطبيق على أماكن سياحية ومطاعم وكل ما يحتاجه السائح داخل المنطقة، وأيضاً على دليل سياحي من أبناء المنطقة. بدأت الفكرة بعمل استبيان تم توزيعه على جميع فئات المجتمع وأخذ آراء المجتمع المحلي ومشاعرهم من خلال جلسة وبحضور رئيس بلدية السلطة الكبرى الذي كان داعم للفكرة ولأفكار الشباب من البداية. واجهتنا العديد من التحديات والصعوبات في ظل وجود أزمة كورونا، لكننا كنا كفريق واحد حاولنا تخطي كل الصعوبات والتحديات إيمانا منا بأن الشباب هم نقطة التغيير. بعون الله تعالى رح ينطلق التطبيق في شهر 3 بعد سنة كاملة من العمل، وكلنا حماس لوجود تطبيق شبابي 100% من فكرة إلى تنفيذ إلى نتائج. وبنحب نشكر كل الداعمين لهذا البرنامج، وأكيد الدور الأكبر لشباب الفئة المستهدفة اللي كان لهم دور أكبر من خلال العمل من الناحية التقنية. وبس تزورونا على الصل رح تعرفوا ليش قديش أحلى من الصل.
أنا عبد الرزاق خليفات، رئيس قسم الدراسات والتطوير في بلدية السلطة الكبرى وضابط ارتباط مع هيئة أجيال السلام ضمن مشروع برمج للأردن. بلدية السلطة الكبرى اهتمت اهتمام كبير في موضوع البرنامج اللي هو برنامج برمج للأردن. كان في أكثر من سبب لهذا الاهتمام. بداية المشروع والبرنامج إجانا من الشباب، والشباب يعني احنا كبلدية بنآمن بدور الشباب في جميع الأعمال. الشغلة الثانية إنه إحنا لما لقائنا كان عطوفة رئيس البلدية مع الشباب وجدنا إيمان الشباب بالفكرة اللي هم جايين يحكوا فيها واهتمامهم بالموضوع. هذا يعني كان داعم إلنا وداعم إلهم حتى نمشي بخطوات نحو النجاح بمشروعنا. الشغلة الثالثة اللي هي الفكرة كانت رائدة وممتازة، ويعني المدينة كمدينة السلط تعتبر ميزتها اللي هي الميزة السياحية. البلدية تقوم بجهد كبير في موضوع السياحة، عشان هيك كان في اهتمام بالفكرة وبالموضوع. المدينة بحاجة إلى حلول تقنية تدعم قطاع السياحة. في جهود كثير تشتغل في قطاع السياحة، لكن ما ميز مشروع برمج للأردن هو الحلول التقنية. البلدية قامت بدور أمنت الشباب في كل المعلومات اللي بيحتاجوها في قطاع السياحة، في المكونات السياحة في مدينة السلط، المواقع السياحية وأنواع السياحة كاملة، يعني سواء كانت سياحة زراعية أو علاجية أو سياحة أثرية في المدينة. أهم شيء في المشروع اللي تبنته هيئة أجيال السلام اللي هو الأثر اللي راح يترتب على هذا المشروع. الأثر راح تكون يعني يمس جميع طبقات المجتمع في المدينة، لأنه إذا ما كان بيخلق فرص عمل بشكل مباشر فهو يساهم في تنشيط القطاعات اللي تتعامل بالسياحة. فيعني إذا كان التطبيق هدفه سيزيد عدد الزوار والسياح إلى المدينة، فهي كل القطاعات اللي المشاركة في المجال السياحي راح تتنشط وراح يكون في عندها نشاط اقتصادي. بحب أشكر جميع القائمين على الفكرة وعلى المشروع، ونتمنى أنه نشوف على أرض الواقع أفكار مشابهة، ونتمنى بالمستقبل كمان نشوف أفكار ريادية تخدم مجتمعاتنا وتخدم مدننا. كل الشكر للجميع.
مرحبا، أنا اسمي زيد سرياني، سينيور تكنولوجيست بشركة بروجريس سوفت. كان دوري تنظيم البرنامج مع أجيال السلام.
مرحبا، أنا عيسى عبد الهادي، سينيور سوفت وير ديفلوبر في بروجريس سوفت. كان دوري في المشروع مدرب ومرشد.
احنا ببروجريس سوفت شركة كبيرة صار لها أكثر من 30 سنة موجودة، مختصة في مجال المدفوعات. حسينا كشركة أردنية إنه لازم نقدم للمجتمع بعض من خبراتنا عشان ندفع الشباب للأمام ونعطيهم حافز إنهم يشتغلوا على حالهم ويشتغلوا ينموا المجتمعات تاعونهم، ولو بمساهمة صغيرة من عنا إن شاء الله نكون إحنا نقدر نعطي تأثير إيجابي للمجتمع.
قدرنا ندرب الشباب على أحدث تقنيات برمجة الهواتف المحمولة، وكان حماس الشباب دائما يعطينا الدافع إن نعطيهم أكثر وأكثر من خبراتنا، وقدرنا إن نساعدهم في الأفكار. والحمد لله في مجموعة طلاب كويسة كانوا يسبقونا ويتعلموا لحالهم بالبيوت ويتطوروا من حالهم.
في مرحلة الإشراف بعد ما انتهى التدريب، لما صار في اختيار للبرامج من قبل المجموعات الطلابية، شفنا قديش في شغف وشفنا قديش في طموح عند المجموعات إنهم يقدروا يختاروا برامج مناسبة لكل مجتمع ويشتغلوا عليها. بالإضافة إنه شفنا لتعاون كبير من البلديات المحلية لمجموعات الشباب وكيف الدعم اللي قدموها لهم. وكان كل مرحلة إشراف من سيشن لسيشن نشوف في تقدم كبير بالبرامج اللي كانوا عاملينها الشباب بالنسبة لهاي المجتمعات.
كان في معنا 3 فرق، كل فريق مسؤول عن بلدية معينة، وقدر كل فريق يختار الفكرة اللي بده يطبقها، وإحنا ساعدناهم هل هاي الفكرة قابلة للتنفيذ أو غير قابلة، وجمعوا المعلومات وجمعوا كامل المتطلبات تاعت كل تطبيق. وإن شاء الله قريبا راح نلاقي 3 تطبيقات على الجوجل بلاي وعلى الاب ستور وتخدم فئات المجتمع.
احنا متشوقين نشوف هاي التطبيقات طالعة وتفاعل الناس معاها وشو ردود الأفعال حتكون عليها، وإن شاء الله تكون إيجابية وأدت الغرض المطلوب منها.
إحنا كشركة بروجريسوفت دائما بنسعى لتطوير الشباب، وبنحب دائما إنه نعمل نفس التدريب كل سنة، ونقدر إنه نعطي من خبراتنا للشباب المتحمسة عشان يفيدوا المجتمع في الفئات المختلفة.
كان اسم التطبيق ستريت واتش، وهو يهدف إلى خدمة البلدية اللي بتعكس على خدمة المواطن من خلال توفير الوقت والجهد والمال. ببطل المواطن يحتاج مثلا يذهب للبلدية ويقدم شكوى إنه في عندي كذا كذا مشكلة، صار بس من خلال يسحب هاتفه يصور المكان المشكلة يرفعها دايركت للبلدية. التيم كان مقسم جزء باك اند وجزء فرونت اند، فأنا كان دوري بالقاعدة البيانات وبالاي بي اي، مثل يعني زي اني اضع لوكيشن الابلود لصورة المكان، فأنا كان شغلي بهاي الجزئية. طبعا كان دوري البلدية في انها اول شيء رحبت بالفكرة ووفرت لنا اشخاص مهندسين معنيين بالبلدية كانوا متواجدين في اثناء الجلسات.
فكان دور البلدية مع الهيئة اول شيء تعريف بالمشكلة، فساعد الهيئة أنه تعرف شو مشاكل المجتمع المحلي. كان دور البلدية أيضاً في نشر الاستبيانات على المجتمع المحلي. لما أجوا يقابلوا الشباب المبرمجين اللي من سحاب، كنا إحنا كبلدية جزء من المقابلات وجزء من اللجنة واخترنا معهم. يعني لابد إنك تحط البلدية، لأنه أنت لحالك ما بتنجح والبلدية لحالها ما بتنجح، لابد إنه يكون شراكة.
طبعاً التطبيق كإنترفيس كثير سلس وفريندلي، من خلال إنه المواطن بيفتحه بيعمل عملية تسجيل للدخول، بيرفق المشكلة، بعد ما يرفق المشكلة بيصورها بتوصل طبعاً للبلدية. هون تخلص مبدأ العمل التطبيق، بتبلش مبدأ البلدية. وطبعاً بكون واصل الإحداثيات، الموقع، الصورة، المكان، اسم الشخص. على هذا المبدأ البلدية راح تتواصل مع هذا الشخص أو مباشرة تذهب إلى المكان اللي فيه المشكلة.
هو مبدئياً تطبيق تعليمي. فكرة التطبيق إجت للاستجابة للتغيرات اللي طرأت على العملية التعليمية بالفترة الأخيرة بسبب الجائحة طبعاً، وكانت فكرة التطبيق كمان كتلبية لاحتياج ملح للمجتمع المحلي كوسيلة تعليمية مساندة للتعليم عن بعد. دور كان بالتطبيق هو شغل على بروفايلز المدرس والطالب، اللي هو بيحتوي على معلومات الطالب، السيتنجز تبعونه مشان يعدل على المعلومات، وبالنسبة للمعلم كمان نفس الشيء. بداية يعني لو ما البلدية ساعدتنا بتشكيل تصور أولي عن احتياجات المجتمع المحلي، ما كنا رح نعرف إنه شو مجتمعنا بحاجة. يعني نحن صحيح عايشين في هذا المجتمع، بس يمكن مش على تماس معه مثل البلدية بصفة رسمية.
منذ بداية البرنامج أبدأ رئيس البلدية دعمه بالكامل لفكرة البرنامج والشباب، التنسيق مع المتطوعين ودعمهم خلال فترة البرنامج من خلال المساهمة في تقييم احتياجات المجتمع وتزويد الشباب ببيانات وإحصائيات تساهم على تحديد أهم القضايا تواجه مجتمعاتهم والتصدي لها ومعرفة الاحتياجات والفرص، بالإضافة إلى المساهمة في نشر استبيان تقييم احتياجات المجتمع الذي تم تصميمه من قبل الشباب، والمساهمة في فكرة التطبيق الإلكتروني. وهذا ما يميز البرنامج لأنه وجد المنصة والمساحة نتفكر مع العمل مع الشباب في تحسين الخدمات المقدمة لأفراد المجتمع المحلي. ساهمنا بجلسة أفراد المجتمع وكان دور كبير في تقييم احتياجات المجتمع
المدرس أو الطالب بيعمل له أكاونت على التطبيق. بعد هيك ممكن إنه يتجول بالأبليكيشن بشكل سهل. بالنسبة للمعلم بيدخل على المراحل التدريسية، ممكن يحدد شو السعر اللي بيعطيه. الشيء اللي بصير بالنسبة للطالب إنه بيحدد شو هي المرحلة الدراسية الخاصة فيه. تلقائياً بيطلع له مجموعة من المدرسين، بيختار شو المدرس اللي بده إياه وبيتواصل معه من خلال الموبايل نمبر. يعني هي طريقة بنقدر نحكي تشبيكية ما بين المدرس والطالب بشكل مختصر.
Thank you, Shahid. And thank you to all who have watched this. I mean, for me, I noted down quite a few things, and to just ask us follow-ups. But I just want to say that the floor is open for any questions or comments you may have. Please type them in the Q&A box, and we'll be happy to respond to them. Okay. So first and foremost, before your questions start rolling in, I found it so interesting how each of the applications was so contextual and, was really trying to address the issues within the community. And it's interesting the diversity of it. So for example, in SALT, we talked about tourism, and one thing, the key thing that stood out to me from the speakers was that they were very open to learning and not even afraid to fail. Like, even if there was something that was not feasible, I remember saying this, they were ready to do that. And because they want to listen and be able to learn from what they were doing. So as of now, I mean, we all know how COVID affected the tourism sector. Do you have any updates actually on how SALT is doing with the use of the application? I don't know who would like to answer that.
So Sophia, actually I have checked the Google store, and I have seen some comments on the app itself and how many downloads and all of that. And there were people suggesting some edits on the application itself. And actually people are more and more using it. I think, but they have used it more during COVID. Now it's a bit less, but it's still, it's on the radar.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really good. And I mean, it kind of shows that participatory nature again, right? Like people saying, giving feedback. That's really good. And seeing the statistics of downloads of that. And yeah, hopefully we hope tourism will improve all over Jordan anyway, post-COVID. In Sahab, citizen monitoring I saw it's so interesting that citizens are taking part in looking at the issues, whether what might consider small, others consider higher risk, and also very useful for early warning systems and so on. So I think that was also very interesting for me to read, to listen to. I was wondering that if, I give feedback, okay, as a user, I give feedback. And as the speaker said, the issue, they might go back to the feedback person or just solve the problem. I'm quite interested in how they go back to the feedback, the person who provided the feedback. Like, were there any experiences they had? Was there any further engagement after they went back to the feedback giver? Maybe Maysam wants to answer this. Just the process, that process of being able to give feedback back to the feedback giver.
I think that they can check, they added a feature on the application, they can check the status of each complaint or comment or feedback they provided, and then they can track the progress, if it's solved, if not yet. And they can also reach out to the focal point, and they can also provide more clarification or to explain to them the issue. And once it's solved, it's going to, they can check it on the application itself, and they will also alert the one with the youth that it's already solved.
That's amazing. Like, that's really good, closing that loop. All right. So the third thing I noticed from the video was, of course, a tech learn one, and very interesting that was a response to the educational challenges during the pandemic. And the fact that it was providing support, like a student could actually say, this is where I need help in. So not only complementing the school curriculum, but also being able to say, I need help. Were there any testimonials from students, like any experiences they shared about that process and, how they got help and how helpful it was? Would like to answer that one.
Sophia, we couldn't hear your question very well, so if you can please repeat the question.
Yes, sure. So with the tech learn, right? The third one in Mafraq, correct? Yeah. So students, I said I found it very interesting that students could reach out and say, look, I need help in something. So not just even providing complementary education in the course of the pandemic, but also, I need help. And were there any stories or testimonials from students about this, about that process? And, also how parents took it, because we know that there are always safeguarding issues and protection issues. So what was that experience like? Shahid wants to take that? Okay.
Sorry, that's because, okay. Yes, actually, during the feedback we got during the participatory evaluation after the applications were published on the Google Store, it seems that students, so the app was supposed to link a student with a teacher, but then we realized that a group students were able to be linked with one teacher, and then group learning and peer-to-peer learning took place. So it was like unexpected, but something unexpected impact. But it was
positive. Yeah. That's really good to see collective learning across. Okay, questions have started coming in, but before we go to that, I just have a couple more questions for you ladies. So this was a pilot program, and it's all nice and we're saying it's all good, but there must have been some key challenges and lessons learned. What were the most significant ones, Shahid?
Okay, so as you mentioned, since it was a pilot program, and because of the outbreak of COVID-19 during the implementation of the program, actually Jordanian authorities have imposed a set of restrictions during the implementation. These restrictions have placed new challenges while youth were working on gathering the needs of their communities, the community needs assessment that I mentioned earlier. It constrained the free movement within their governorates to collect the data. However, we managed to some extent to extend the duration of the program to ensure the quality and the representation in the data collection process. Also, youth during the implementation needed more time to develop technical solutions as bugs would inevitably occur. Youth were from different backgrounds and skills. Therefore, each section of the technical solution was created by a youth member, which in turn would result in some inconsistency when collected together. This was another reason for extending the duration of the program, to make sure we respond to all these challenges. Another lesson learned is that each phase of the development process needed its own expert. So this means the construction of the app, the UI design, development of the code, front end, back end, and Firebase and testing. This lesson learned would ensure the highest quality of each application. Such experts would not work directly on the application, but would work with youth directly in order to deliver the products and share their expertise with them. And these lessons learned are important because they would inform the design of any future programming and would ensure that risks are mitigated in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you for those very, I think, realistic, practical challenges and lessons learned. Maysam, now the program has been implemented thanks to our donors, right? Portuguese Foundation. What are the next steps, especially following what Shahd had said? What are the next steps and future plans?
Thank you, Sophia. So as Shahd mentioned, here in Generations for Peace, we believe that sustainability is key for empowering youth, one that is indicative of authenticity and genuine investment in what matters for a demographic that is increasingly on the rise. So as I mentioned, we have conducted and used several methods in order to gather participants, youth, municipalities, progress soft, feedback and lessons learned on the implementation of the pilot project in order to inform our future plans and the design of the program for the next phase, let's say. So due to the pilot program meeting the desired and expected outcomes, we believe that it will be really beneficial to continue the support and the implementation of the program at the 3 municipalities, but also to expand and to extend the program to cover, let's say, additional governments and additional governorates, and additional municipalities, and also maybe to expand our reach in order to cover more target group members and any refugee youth in Jordan. Based on that, we've approached different donors to seek funding and also propose different ideas in order to expand our work in for Code for Jordan program. We've also, based on the feedback of the participants, it's also, we believe that it's really important to continue working with the youth who participated in the pilot project, maybe provide them with more advanced coding training, capacity building session, and other activities in order to build and advance the technical solutions, and also maybe connect them with the private sectors to increase their chance of employability for the youth who were part of the program. Also, one of the ideas that were suggested from the youth themselves and the municipality is to increase the scope of the effort to include new sectors such as education, environment, social innovation, creativity, art, and culture. Also maybe to link the applications to relevant sector entities to ensure sustainability for the application. And youth from SALT has already reached out to different entities in order to make sure to link their applications within. As mentioned at the beginning, youth already started proposing right after the implementation of the program different ideas for technical solutions to help their communities. So they came up with the creative ideas and different proposals for different applications to serve their communities' needs and priorities. Also, maybe to work on more advanced, add more advanced features in the already developed tech solutions, and or in order to maybe release a new version of these apps based also on the feedback that we're receiving via App Store or Google Store, and to make sure that we're taking into consideration and youth are taking into consideration the feedback that they are receiving from their communities. So basically, we're still in the process of approaching different donors secure support for this project, because we do believe that we really need to expand the reach, the extent to cover more governorates in Jordan, and also because we do believe in technology and its vital role in empowering youth and engage them in the civic life in Jordan. So hopefully we will be able to secure fund in order to continue our work with the youth and with the municipalities, and to help enhance those applications, and maybe also include, as mentioned, more applications and more advanced features to these applications.
Yeah, well, that's a long list. For a moment, I thought Shahid had been coded out of the video when she disappeared for a bit. So, donors, this is an extremely innovative program. I can imagine this going across more municipalities in Jordan, and it's usually a challenge, like getting the private sector to invest in things like this. But honestly, I'm not blowing our trumpet, but I really think this is innovative. We have some questions which we're going to quickly run through. One has already been answered. The first was what were the biggest challenges you faced? So that's already been addressed. There are two more for now. And the first one says, do you see this approach to reducing violence as something that can be replicated in different countries and contexts? So who would like to take that one?
Mute. Okay. I think definitely this could be implemented in other countries and other contexts, but of course it should be adapted to the context itself. So, for example, we have done the community needs assessment in each community. In this context, also community needs assessment must be done so that it could address the needs of and priorities of the communities themselves in each context.
Yeah, absolutely, because there's really no use just sitting behind a computer and coding and deciding this is what we should do. And yeah, I just like with our other GFE programming, it's all about the context and understanding what's happening there. A curiosity for me, does it have like double language capability, this both Arabic and English?
No, because most coding languages are using
Yes.
and the platforms themselves are in English. I have seen some innovative solutions where they are developing in Arabic, for example, but it's still very new and they have a long way to go.
Okay, so that's something also possibly for future programming. Another question is, what is needed? And an excellent question. What is needed to make this program sustainable?
I can take it. Yeah, so as we mentioned, we do believe that sustainability is key for empowering youth, and at the end we want youth to continue working and actually serving their communities and be active and pay back what they have learned in the program. So that's why we've engaged youth and ProgressSoft municipalities in different brainstorming sessions in order to sustain our work and think about how we can make sure that this application actually continue functioning and youth continue supporting the municipalities within their work. So what is needed is for municipality to support youth, to believe more in youth, which is actually the case. And some municipalities, they already reaching out to youth whenever there is any issue regarding the application, or if they want to add more features into the application. So this is actually already happening, but we do believe that there should be more support from the municipalities in order to sustain the work and the function of the applications. Also, what's needed for sustainability is also to think about how we can, as we mentioned, to link these applications with relevant sectors in order to make sure that they continue to support these sectors and these entities. Also, sustainability is also related to having more support to the youth provided and provide more capacity building, mentoring session to continue with this this relationship with them, which is actually the case. So every once in a while we reach out to youth and make sure that they are still working on their application. If there's any gap or skill they need for us to work on, we have already providing this kind of support to them. So yeah, I think this could be some of the needs and the thing that we need to focus and work on in order to ensure the sustainability of Code for Jordan.
Thank you for that. The key, as you mentioned, is just the participation of municipality and government officials, because I think one reason why this is extremely innovative is that most of the time youth, as we said, violence of exclusion, youth are seen as part of the problem, but to see youth and government officials coming together and then engaging the community in the addressing the issues is really very, very noteworthy. I'm going to ask you both last question before I share the closing reflections. As implementers, as staff members who mentored and worked on the programs, what are your key takeaways from that experience? So whoever wants to go first.
Okay, so it was for me. It was very inspiring to work with the young ICT graduates. I think the main key takeaway for me was how motivated they were to learn a new and up-to-date tech tool. They learned Flutter, and at that time it was just entering Jordan, and we didn't actually find many experts in Jordan working on that. So I learned a lot from youth themselves, and I was so inspired by their stories and how they managed to find job opportunities after taking these trainings, how ProgressSoft hired some of our youth members, and all of this. So I'm always inspired by youth in Jordan.
Yeah, wow, that's another sustainability point about ProgressSoft engaging our youth. Correct? That's really great. You see, so sustainability. Maysam?
So someone who's coming also from an ICT background, I thought that this program was very unique because it gives the youth a chance to actually engage with their communities, and not only focusing on the technical skills, because in ICT graduates we are only focusing on developing, enhancing our technical capacities, but we believe that also the soft skills, communication, to be active and also engage with our communities is really a key thing. So I think this is one of the key takeaways. Also, it's really important to highlight that there was also a gender balance throughout the whole program. Like we saw a young female who were leading the efforts of developing the tech solution. This was really something that was really impressive for us to notice. Also, as Shahd mentioned, also and as you mentioned, the gap and the trust that was also built between the youth and the municipalities was something that is also unique.
Great. And I will just give, at least from being part of GFP and seeing how the program went from beginning to end, I want to give you a big kudos. Well done. Also, thanks, obviously, to our donor, Porticus Foundation, and ProgressSoft, our partners. It's really good to see also that they felt the ownership as well and, further engage our volunteers. I think in closing, because we don't have any more questions, I will give a call, not just to donors, but also to all interested stakeholders. This is something that is innovative, especially in this part of the world, and it's evidence about the agency of youth and how useful they can be to solving or addressing at least issues in the communities. And that intersection with technology, because we do know, almost everyone in Jordan has a phone, and it's nice to see when we lose them all fall down and everyone starts getting panicked about their phones. So the fact that it is accessible is a key thing and very important about this project. So thank you to you ladies for being part of this discussion. Thank you to all who have joined us. Generations for Peace, you can find us at www.generationsforpeace.org. Feel free to send in any questions, any comments, suggestions as well. Download the apps. They're on Google Store, right? So the apps are, what are the apps? Tech Learn. We have, what's the second one and the third? Tech Learn.
Street Watch.
Street Watch. And third one.
Tech Learn.
Tech Learn, yeah. So these apps are available on the Google Store. Please download, give us your feedback, even if you're outside Jordan, it's helpful as well. Shahid, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, because mute. Okay. I was saying the third app is Visit Santos. Yeah.
Vitals, okay. Yeah, the tourism one. Yes, absolutely. And I can say, you know, having lived in Jordan for a while, there are amazing tourist sites across the country. So, you know, I encourage you to please use it, visit Jordan, learn about Code for Jordan as well. If you would like to support us in any way, just contact us via our website. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining, and have a wonderful rest of the day or night, depending on where you are. Thank you.